I just wanna kiss you till my lips turn blue. Roll around and sleep the afternoon. We can get a little rougher. Give me rugburn. Yeah. Cause I like it when your love hurts too. Yeah.
Welcome to Gatecrashers, a podcast dedicated to kicking open the door to your next favorite thing. Our mission, our creed, and our code is this: to make all things more approachable and accessible to everyone. We want you to find a world that you'll fall in love with. So, since the beginning of the pandemic, all that good shit, I have been scrolling through TikTok pretty much nonstop. Love a good doom scroll. While so many people think these platforms are just like little dance apps, there are so many unique voices who have found their voice here on these platforms for their comedy, their art, and their music. One artist who I have seen many, many times with the repeating track is named Sad Alex. Today, I am joined by the writer, lyricist, singer, pianist, dancer, and designer. That's some resume like whoa.
Like whoa. What's up?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm up. I'm awake. Starting my day with you.
It's a very good thing to be on any day. It seems bright out. It seems electric, so it's good.
Yeah, where are you right now?
I am in, so
Well,
I always say Philadelphia, but I'm like 3 minutes outside in Jersey.
I just came from, my family lives in Delaware. I was just there last week.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why you were out on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Wilmington, Delaware.
Oh, okay, yeah. I grew up in Maryland, and then I came back up here, so like you've always been in the middle. I drive through Wilmington every time I go to Maryland.
Oh my God. I went to school in Baltimore at Loyola.
Oh, I almost went there, actually.
Crazy.
Interesting. Huh. Oh, well, you're an East Coaster.
I
Interesting.
am. Truly.
Now you're LA, right?
I am. I'm in LA. I've been in LA for 6 or 7 years, 6.5 maybe.
Do you drive or do you not?
I have a car. I also have a bicycle. You see it?
I see that bike right there. I see a guitar. You've got a very cool looking room.
Oh, I actually recently, because I got that bike recently and I had to, my last bike got stolen. And this one's kind of a nice bike. So I was like, I'm not going to leave it outside anymore. So I had to reorganize my whole room to make room to put the bike there. And now this new arrangement is actually way better, I think.
Good. I'm glad. A lot of that feng shui, is that what they call that?
That's a very ugly painting that I did. It's super ugly. So I don't want you to think that it's like my high art. Because paint is not my medium. I have another canvas I've been putting off. I really want to paint over it and try to make it better, because I draw on the iPad. That's how I do all my artwork and stuff. But that's a very different way to make art, because I can undo, I can adjust, I can do all these things. Paint doesn't do that. Paint just does what it does.
Let me add a question. I'm so excited to talk to you. I as we've talked about, I've got to talk to a lot of people, but like there are so many things you've done that I'm so interested in, and the way you approach so much of your things is like how I try to, because it's not normal. It's like outside the box of how you approach a lot of your things. But before we get into it, I don't know how much you've looked into me, but I'm a pretty hard-hitting journalist.
Okay.
So I hope you're ready for this first question. What's your favorite sandwich?
Oh, you did your research. It's a bit of a toss-up. I'm a simple woman, and a lot of times just like a really well-made turkey sandwich with the right, accessories is the way to go. Also, huge tuna fan, big tuna fan over here, or a dope Italian sub. And like one of those three is usually what I'll go for. But I'm also like, I have love for all sandwiches. It's like sometimes a great BLT is really awesome. Sometimes a chicken, like I'll eat any sandwich, but I think usually my go-to is like a really dope turkey sandwich, which I know is like not like people are probably like, oh, what a basic stupid bitch turkey sandwich. But like there's just something about like a nice cold, right, like the right season. It's just the way. It just gets me going.
Listen, I would never judge you for your sandwich choice. I'm not a fish person, so I'm not a huge tuna guy, but
I love tuna.
Now, because you're from the East Coast and you've gone to the West Coast, have you found any difference in the sandwiches? Like, what do they call them out there is my biggest thing. Is it a hoagie?
Hoagies. No, there's no hoagies out here. It's like, it's just like it's they don't even say subs out here really. They just say sandwiches.
All right, that's enough. As long as they don't call it like a hero or some
Well,
grinder or some of that
they
shit.
have heroes, and those you can get those. I think my bigger issue with West Coast or LA in particular sandwiches is like, and I loved on the East Coast, you just have like an array of choices, and you can go to Wawa and get a really pretty great sandwich for $4 that has like all the things that you want. You can make all the adjustments, whatever. Or you can go to a really cool, like nice deli and that has like a dope sandwich, or you can get the high end ones, and you kind of have this like sliding scale. LA has a little less of the sliding scale. I feel like more often than not, you're dealing with like this wannabe fancy sandwich that like you didn't need to pay $16 for that. You know, like we could have paid less.
That hurts. Oh, $16. Oh.
And that's on the low end. I mean, you could easily, there are some really fancy sandwich places that are charging like $22 for their, chicken, whatever the fuck it is. But I did find there's a place that opened down the street from me that's pretty good. It's called The Heights, and it's like a true, like affordable deli. They also have a bunch of really nice beers and stuff in there. So you can get like beers by the can while you're also getting your sandwich. They have pasta, they have pizza, they have all sorts of stuff. And it's actually pretty good, and like one of the closest I've found to like there's other like more authentic delis in town, but it does give me a little bit more of an East Coast vibe, which I appreciate.
I was out there a couple months ago, and I didn't get to have any sandwiches out there, but I went to this one restaurant near the Santa Monica Pier, and they had this like, I guess it was technically a sandwich. It was 2 pieces of this bread with like coconut stuff in the middle, and honestly, sometimes like I think about it, like it was probably the closest I've finished eating a sandwich. I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever had inside of me. So with that, let's talk about Rugburn, because it's out now.
It is.
Now, the campaign for this has been a series of Tik Toks where you repeated the chorus. Is it the chorus?
It's the verse.
The verse. That's
First verse.
I'm not the musical
music structure.
I mean, yes, music structure. I can read and do all that kind of stuff, but like the structure has never been something I've been strong with.
That's okay.
But where did the idea come from to have this become your thing for the moment?
I mean, my thing for this song.
Yeah.
I think what you do, what I first will say that I don't know anything, and I don't know if anybody does. And if they claim to know anything about how TikTok works or the music industry works, they're probably lying to you and themselves and all the above. Because I think we are in such a weird, fluid state of the industry that like even the top artists and the top teams are kind of just like, oh, okay, let's try. Like it's very weird right now in the music industry. And all I try to do, I follow like the most dumb train of thought when it comes to like TikTok. And I posted that verse. And what I probably did maybe wrong about this song is I actually posted the first time I posted that verse was back in like May. But I already had a couple songs lined up to release. So I wasn't, and granted, I'm independent now, so feasibly you can kind of like uproot and post. You can release a song whenever you want. But I wasn't prepared to release Rugburn yet. And it did pretty well then. It did like 400,000 views or something like that, which, again, with the weirdness of the music industry, although that's a great landmark to hit, there's also this weird level of virality that needs to happen if you're going to get a label's attention, or if you're going to get like a surefire, a number of pre-saves to get the DSPs to care, or whatever's going on. I'm probably using words that like people are like, what the fuck is this bitch talking about? But so my approach was, since I knew I was like, okay, people seem to like the song. It seems to react well on this platform because it's written in a way that's very TikTok-y, for lack of a better word. Like it's just weird and goofy, and people think it's like really, it's really stupid and written badly. But I'm like, but what if it's so smart that it's actually stupid? And that's kind of, I feel like, what it is. But it's actually not that smart. I'm not going to act like it's my greatest work. Anyway, I'm going to move on to this next part of the story. So I just like decided to go just keep feeding it out as much as I could, because like in the same way that obviously if you get something to go huge and viral, you can fill the cup all the way up to the top right away. You can also achieve that by kind of like continuing to feed it and getting it to a few 100,000 more people here and a few 100 more thousand people here. So I was kind of approaching like, let's fill this up drip by drip, and maybe one of those will do better, one of those won't. And then it just became a goofy thing of like, yeah, this is funny when I sing this verse in kind of unusual places, and people, for the most part, some people get annoyed, which I actually liked highlighting like the amount of hate that you get as creators on this app. And so I kind of took a little joy in responding to the hate with more of the video. And then also people were really stoked about it. And they were like, oh, like I want to see you do this verse. And they would request a location, and I would go to the location and do it. So that was really as much thought as went into it. I was like, I'm going to keep feeding this verse out because it's the section of the song that seems to work, and just see what happens. It was about as much as went into my marketing plan.
I love it. I mean, it worked. It was everywhere. So
That's great.
The platform is, as you said, it's super interesting because like I'll do a movie review in my car after I go to a screening. 60 seconds, it'll get like thousands of views. But then I will dress up, as we spoke about before this, I was in a full Minion costume, full body paint, glass, like the goggles, everything, like 100 views. And I'm like, I put so much effort into this rather than this, like I'm in my car, like out of breath because I ran out of the movie theater. And it's like, what do you people want from me? But as you were talking about your story about the different locations, there's one that sticks out in my head where you're between two carpets at like a carpet store. My dumbass was like, oh, that was neat. Now that you're talking about it, it's like, oh shit, a rug burn. It's rugs. Yeah, that's fine.
And there were some that we like for the Aladdin parody too, was as simple as like, this is a song called Rugburn. Let's do this on like an iconic rug kind of thing. And that was also that's not all me. It's also my creative director, Justin Giano, who helps with a lot of these concepts. And also the George Washington thing was like one of the lyrics is Captain of the Clit. And so we just kind of chose a captain from, I think his status was a captain at one point in the army. I don't know. And
I don't know much about George Washington.
I think yours was at one point a captain in.
Sure. You know what? You can say that and I'll just agree with you and we'll just hope it's fact.
He might have been a general.
I think he was General George Washington.
Probably was a general. So anyway, it doesn't matter.
It's fine. So Captain George Washington, Captain of the Clit George Washington.
And obviously the more obvious choice for that would have been a pirate, but I think I think pirate can be a little overdone. So and no one actually was requesting pirate. People seem to like the choices that were made. And I just think it's funny to do it in a public place where it's weird that I'm saying these kind of like brazen lyrics. Now I had to be careful because at one point I got this request to do some at the beach, and I was like, okay. And I did a few at the beach, and I have a couple more still from that day that we shot at the beach. One I thought was really, really funny. The problem was there's like a kid running in the background, and I was like, dang, I feel like I can't post this.
Yeah.
Also, for the record, I was lip syncing. I wasn't actually saying these words out loud because I didn't want to, tarnish the youth. But I knew that would not land well. I already crossed the line. I did some in a playground, and people were not thrilled about that. So to do it with an actual child running around would be problematic.
Yeah.
So shut it down.
Yeah. Well, it sucks when you have content you can't because of that. How is it? So we are. It was Tuesday. It got released. We're recording on Friday. How has the response been to the song so far?
It's been great. I mean, it's been probably my best for my solo releases, like ones that don't have a feature or anything on it. It's been my best like day of or totally organic streams. Like we have no editorial support yet. We have nothing like that, it's already at like I think like 35,000 streams or something like that, which is for an independent artist who is using distributors that you can't necessarily guarantee any sort of placement at all anywhere. That's pretty good because that's just people going to it and listening to it, and that's I think a big deal.
Yeah, I was counting down the minutes till midnight so when I can listen to it. I loved it, but I honestly have been. I think I contacted you about a month ago. I have listened to your catalog pretty much 100 times because I really wanted to like understand your approach to a lot of things. And again, you'll see later, I did the research to really like understand this. Cause not tooting your horn here, but there is a certain type of lyricist that you are that is very truthful, but you don't take things to like the brazen edge where you're like, oh, this is super serious. You have to have humor and stuff like that. And we'll get into that into a second. But a little more about TikTok before we get into some other stuff.
Right.
One of the videos was a duet, which I watched a couple of the duets. I need to tell you this because I watched a man say, grip my nipples and twist till they pop off. And then afterwards I was like, now I have to get on a call and do an interview while thinking of this verse. It was after that he like went into some very funny stuff, and I was just like,
I actually
was not ready for this.
So I think if it's the video, so I didn't get to watch all of them yet, and it's actually on my list to like react to more of the duets. And to be like, I think there was one that I saw that was kind of at the top that had been getting a lot of views, and I hadn't watched it yet, and I think it actually got taken down. I think.
It might be that. So it was age restricted when I went on there.
So
it's
I
like
think
he's at like 75,000 K.
Yeah, and I went to try to watch it and react to it, and it was gone. I think it got removed.
Oh, I'll see if I can. I have it, but again, it was like
send it to me because I couldn't find it.
Yeah, it was funny. Like I was like, this is like very raunchy, but like I was laughing and I was like, how am I going to get this out of my head? With opening up duets to this song, what kind of responses have you seen? Like the ones you've gotten to watch? Because I know there are a lot.
I mean, I think the whole purpose of open verses and allowing people to duet with their own ideas is it's kind of like a no-brainer when it comes to marketing a song, even if it gets if you post an open verse. And granted, I sometimes struggle with this because I'm like, just a victim of insecurity if something doesn't perform well on there now. But my creative director implored me to like let that go and just put it up, because whether it gets 2 videos to it or 2,000, you're still basically getting like free content made to your song without you having to do much of anything. And there's a chance that one of those could do well and get in front of more eyes, ears, etc. So you're really kind of, it's one of the easiest marketing tools that you can utilize for yourself. Now, I think you should only do it if the song seems to demand it and have that kind of reaction. Like I've done them in the past when it just didn't make sense to do it yet. And I think it is a bit oversaturated with like the amount of open verses that we see now. I think you should wait until the song has enough traction that people actually know it and people want to, and they're requesting it often, that it should, I don't know, be a thing. But yeah, it was, and I saw one of the girls that I actually was like messaging all the people that I was reacting to, because they were really funny, and it was very cool.
I love that. Now, your artistic career has really been and come up during the age of social media, and I've read a few interviews with you where you talk about how it's like this really great weapon, but it also can be a really detrimental thing, because as you're saying, like sometimes when things don't perform, it gets to you. I have the same thing when it's like you put so much of yourself into your work and it doesn't get the response that you want. It hurts. Do you think the use of social media during the pandemic and where we're at now has helped you reach audiences you wouldn't otherwise? And How do you think that has affected you?
I think it's absolutely been my biggest tool that I can use for myself. It's probably the only reason I've been able to keep up any sort of presence in the music industry as an artist at all. Without a doubt, the biggest places where I had growth in the last 2 years were the TikTok growth and like social media, like outreach. And that was all done on my own, which is what made decisions like leaving my label and stuff a little bit easier for me, because I knew even when you can get scared when you think about like, oh, being independent so hard and like, oh, like money, this, that, whatever. But when I break it down to like brass tacks, I'm like, the biggest thing that you did for yourself had nothing to do with any of these people. And that at the end of the day is always something that gives me comfort. Now, back to the double-edged weapon thing, it also right now terrifies me, because on one hand, I appreciate that I've built up this tool to use. As an independent artist, when I've recently stripped my whole team, like I left my label, I left my publisher, I just left my management, I'm trying to find new management, all this stuff. So I feel I'm very alone in the world right now, which is what I chose. I'm trying to build a new team, build a new whatever. But this transitional period with it does make me feel very alone. And it makes TikTok in particular feel like the only tool that I have to market myself as an artist. But the only thing scarier than being so reliant on this platform that can drive me crazy, that can make me feel bad about myself, all this stuff, is the thought of what I will do if and when this tool doesn't exist anymore. And my gut is always erring on the side of that could be sooner rather than later. I don't know. Like I think there's so much on TikTok right now, and it could very well reach a level of oversaturation that a new thing could pop up any given moment. I've already been fed new social media platforms that are like coming up, and who knows if one's going to surpass in terms of importance. But that's the only thing. Like, it's this very double-edged problem where I'm like, it's scary that I have to use it, and I feel like it's all I have, but then it's all I have. So if I don't have that, what do I have? And that's like what can be a bit problematic about it. And I'm trying to work on, because what I think I can do a better job of as an artist, and what's difficult right now without having a booking agent and all this stuff, like I'm trying to get a tour together. I'm trying to get to the stuff so I can build up my live audience presence, so I can try to establish a little bit more roots with the fan base that I've built, so it's not all fully dependent within this one platform.
Yeah, it is scary. We do that with Twitter, really, and it's like hard because like creating content that isn't just your artistic endeavors can take a toll on you. So with creating these TikToks and things like this, and like things that aren't just sitting down and writing or sitting down and creating art or writing music or playing music, do you feel that takes a toll on you at all? Or
Absolutely. I mean, I was talking to a friend about this the other day, that this year I have written, in terms of like in the way that I've written music in the past, less than I ever have. And that's not a bad thing. It's not that I haven't been productive. It's just that my days and what is important for what I have to do in order to keep up the platform and the stuff that I've built takes a lot of different kinds of work that doesn't involve necessarily being in a session every day. Like the way I kind of outline my schedule right now is I have one day, and it's not perfect. It's kind of hard to stay on this all the time, but you have one day for making like TikTok and content creation day. And then I have a couple days where I'm available for sessions, and I have a day of admin to try to keep up with all the stuff that my manager and whoever would normally do. So I basically have 3 days available for sessions, and sometimes those all get booked, sometimes they don't. Or sometimes they book. I've had a lot of cancellations recently too. We're kind of living the era of cancellations with sessions is just wild these days, which I never really mind, because at the end of the day, it's like, and this is what makes things harder from the songwriting and producing perspective. Even more so for the songwriting, I think. And part of the reason why I've dove a lot harder into the artist project in the last 2 years is because that's where the most momentum was. That's also where the most money was coming in. That was paying my bills. That was like keeping my life afloat. Because depending on cuts, depending on songs to come out as a songwriter with artists that you work with, is such a small window, and has only gotten smaller with the momentum of like the movement of TikTok and how music works on there. Because it used to be that if you were a songwriter, you would write a song and either pitch it or write it with an artist that gets sent to with their A&R team. They choose it, it comes out cool, and you have to make it through that choosing process, but whatever. Now you write a song with an artist, they might test it on TikTok, it doesn't work, it gets bad, it's gone, dead. And you're just like, damn. Like, so now it's this weird, and that's not always the case, but that is another level of an obstacle that has been kind of introduced for the songwriting and production aspect when you're not working for your own stuff, that you at least have control over what's coming out.
If you have someone do something like that, do you get paid at all from them using it?
No.
God damn.
So this is why
film, if you sell.
We were talking about this with some friends the other day, like in terms of entertainment industries, music is one of the most unforgiving, because whether it's like, if you work in TV film, if you work as an actor, if you work as an animator, if you work as a whatever, you might still get paid some dog shit at the beginning, but at least you're getting paid. Because I think the music industry is one of the only industries that you can work every day of the year and not get paid at all. Because there's no day rates necessarily for songwriters. There's no like, you don't get a producer fee as a songwriter right now. Some people are starting to change that kind of the way things are divided up, but it's incredibly difficult to make ends meet. It's hard as an artist too, especially an independent one. Like I've had to pick up some side jobs right now to make ends meet. And it is, and I'm pretty transparent about all that because I would, I could pretend that things are like hunky dory and things are okay, but like, damn, it is hard to make a living and make a good living in the music industry right now until something pops off and then you're cool. But it's very difficult.
God damn, that is super scary.
It is.
Because you're putting, and I know a lot of people disagree, but like creating art is scary. Like being able to put yourself on a page and put yourself out there, especially with the stuff you're putting out there, it's not being paid for that would suck. So, damn.
Now,
So,
what
as I
TikTok
said,
has done though, like I work with brands that pay me to make content for them, whatever, like that's great. And that's probably the bigger checks that some of the more, the checks that are paying my bills for this year, which is great, but they're unreliable. You don't know like when you're going to get another one of those opportunities or not.
Huh. God damn, that's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, wow. Not a great time, but it's good that there are things like people who want to pay you to do stuff. So,
but that's nothing new, by the way. I mean, the music industry has been operating that way. If anything, there are finally some steps trying to be taken, particularly for the songwriters, to try to make sure they're getting paid. And that's a whole different conversation of master versus publishing, et cetera. And day rates are a little bit of a separate conversation that are taking longer to happen as well. And it's not necessarily feasible too for independent artists. Like I can't afford to pay every person I work with a day rate. Like that would be crazy, but a label probably could afford that. And that's like where I think the importance is to try to like set up these things. So at the very least, when you're working with an overarching company, there's no reason why Republic or Atlantic or any of these places should not be able to pay a couple $100s to a songwriter to work for the day with their artist.
Yeah. And the label versus yourself sucks too, because like at some point, like you're going to want to do something that they're not going to want to do. And it's just like, do you want to be in control of your own, or do you want to have the funding? So it sucks. But so as I said, I've been really going through all your stuff, and your approach to your craft has really enthralled me. Yesterday I spent about, I want to say like 20 minutes playing that Sad Alex game you did for
the All the Way Over game?
Yes. So I only got through one board because I'm very bad at
Pac-Man.
Miss Pac Sad Alex. But across the board, the things that I've seen, you've really approached differently. Like there's the YouTube dating show you did, there's the Tik Toks you do. Are these bold approaches how you come at everything in life, or is this just how you're approaching your craft? Like, are you trying to come from everything from a different angle?
I desperately try. I think that's the only thing that I can really, and a lot of that I have to attribute to my creative director too. I've been working with him for all of those ideas, and every campaign, and now I will say like not all of them work, and even this one hasn't worked necessarily the way we've wanted it to. But we always, at the very least, try to implement something unique. Like it's because and granted, like you can't always reinvent the wheel, but if you can at least try to like use some sort of creative idea to make something different happen, the best case scenario, it works and people are like, wow, you're a genius. And then the worst case scenario, it doesn't work and people get over it in about a minute and a half. They're like, damn, she tried that, it didn't work. And then they move on to the next video, they scroll down and they're already over it. So I try to do something different. And now it's funny, for the dating myself content, that's probably the best content we've ever done, hands down. It was just creative. It was cool. It did not get a lot of love at that moment, but that song had this weird resurgence in the last 6 months of popularity when I released that song a year and a half ago. And it's been on our list to try to repurpose some of that dating myself content for more of a TikTok format, so that we could try to use that footage again, because it's very compelling. It's really good. And I think it would do well if it was edited correctly. And so that is on the list. Now we're only 2 people right now, so cans get kicked down the road quite often, but you've reminded me, and I might ping that today.
Again, content lives forever. You can always repurpose it, and you did it, so like use it.
Yeah.
Now, in your lyrics and your style of music and things like that, you're called Sad Alex. But so there are a lot of melancholy vibes, a lot of heartbreak, things like that. But something that's really appealed to me is there's so much range that you display with your openness as like a human in your art. Do you ever fear that too much of yourself is on the page?
No. No, because one of the harder things about being an artist is differentiating. And if anything, I want to find ways to put even more of myself on the page, because anything that can try to make me stand out, and even the smallest one word thing way that can try to differentiate me from the other thousands of female pop artists that are doing something in a similar vein to me, I am totally on board for. And it's never been an issue for me in my whole life of being an open book. Like, that's not a problem for me. So I am more than happy to share myself, even if it involves I make a fool out of myself every day. It doesn't bother me at all.
I approach things very similarly. It's like, if you're not putting your full heart into it, like I catch flack, I guess, is like people, when I write reviews, I'm not writing critically. I'm writing from the heart. So like, that's why I loved your stuff so much, because it's like, there are so many different versions of you in these songs. Like, there's some that are very upbeat with a lot of like, I don't know, I'm not a music person, so I'm trying to like, there's some R&B stuff in there. There's some like emo kind of riffs and things like that are like, I can see I think we're similar in age. I can see the influences there, and it's very interesting to see that grow from the beginning to the newest stuff. Now, a lot of your more recent, some of your more popular songs blend intimacy / sexuality with humor. Mm-hmm. How do you find balance in that as a lyricist?
Well, I think that's just me. I, at one point, was trying to do like the sexy pop artist thing, because that was the younger me really wanted that. And not even just in music, but in life. I always wanted to be this sexy, confident, person. And realistically, that never was who I was. So when I had these old artist projects where I was trying to put on this facade of like sexy, bitch thing, like that just never would work. But there, my sexuality and like that part of my life is something that I'm open with. I often joke about it. I've been very transparent about that through my whole life. So to figure out a way to convey that to the music, it's not that sex was a topic I didn't want to use in my music, but to do it in the traditional like sexy song way didn't really feel natural to me. So in order to introduce that topic into my music, it had to be done in either a funny way or a clever way, or kind of like an anthem for the awkward sexy girl kind of, or sexy anybody rather. It just was trying to give a voice. And I think there are a lot of people that can relate to that. There's a lot of people that like sex, have it, and aren't
good for them.
Necessarily like, but they aren't necessarily like some, confident, sexy being. So like it's sort of trying to give a light and a voice to that side of being a sexual being.
I like that a lot, because I do think humor and intimacy are something that go together really strongly, because like I wouldn't sleep with someone who wasn't funny. Like, what the hell would you talk about afterwards? Like, if you're not going to make jokes and laugh, like, we're not porking. Like, end of the day, like, you have to
learn how to laugh with it.
Yeah, because you have to be authentic, and I think that's why I've really loved your songs, because like there's an authenticity there. Authenticity.
There you go.
Bam, got it. Whipped out the dictionary on that one. You said in a few different places that you have a connection to your fans, and that's very important to you. Even going so far as to respond to a lot of Instagram DMs, as a couple years ago you did an interview and spoke about that. Is there ever any fear of a parasocial relationship where like people feel like they know the real you versus the one you're presenting to them?
I mean, I just did this the other day too. I try to I went through all the Instagram DMs and tried to respond to a lot of them. And I think, especially for the way that I've built my brand up, I think that's kind of the only way that I can navigate my fan base. I have never set my project up in sort of an ethereal, inaccessible way. I've always tried to approach like, yo, I am your homie. I am not the girl next door necessarily, but I am this person that's accessible. I am relatable to you, you can talk to me. And so, and actually, for the most part, enjoy talking to a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if I don't, obviously, like I will put a barrier of, boundary there. But as long as like they're normal, I don't mind at all. Like it's kind of like, because I think I want people to also understand that like I know that you can see a video of mine come on an app, and as from a far away place, you might think like, wow, this person's a pop star. This person has it all figured out. I'm like, no, this person's, I mean, I am just a human being that also like has emotional breakdowns, that has had to try to figure out how to pay my bills this month. That is like all of these things, stuff that you go through. I go through that too. And you can see what you see is not always what is actually happening. Kind of vibe.
Yeah, I get like that's what it's about. Like just being yourself. Cause like, I don't want to listen to a musician who's like, oh, I'm perfect. It's like, no, you're fucking not. Get out of here, fucking liar. Yeah. So with doing most things for your own music, like the art and things like that, do you think it is empowering to you to be able to make your own album covers? Like, do you find that you can speak to your music more than having another artist do it would be?
I think I look at it more of it was always more of a convenience and an out of necessity thing. Because I spent years paying hundreds of dollars here and there and everywhere for some graphic designer to make some artwork thing that I ended up not even liking at the end of the day, because I didn't have the budget to work with some like badass album cover person, and I was never happy with the photos part of it. So, and if you're in a time crunch, if you're dependent on somebody else to do album art, can be really annoying. Where I literally drew up the rugburn artwork in 15 minutes and it was ready to go. And that's like, that was always, even especially from the beginning, from the inception of Sad Alex, it was always just like a trying to remedy these situations that I felt like I had done poorly in the past. And I can draw. So I was like, you know what? Let me just try to draw this. I also I've always hated, and I've probably said it in a bunch of interviews too, or I don't want to say hated, that's a strong word, because, people can do whatever they want. But the album cover or single cover when the song's called like, I don't know, Be With Me, and it's just a picture like, it's just like something like that doesn't have anything to do with the song. I never resonated towards that. I hate photo shoots so much. So like any way that I can avoid them is great. And I much prefer having some sort of art thing that is relatable to the song, as opposed to a picture that has nothing to do with the song. Perfect.
Yeah, I agree. So as our last question,
great. Well, not great, but it's last question.
Can we talk about Bethany Gallant?
Oh my God, I can't believe you know about Bethany Gallant.
Thank you. Thank you for trying to recreate it. I shouldn't have asked you for it.
I
should have hit you with it.
I was going to deliver like, oh, how did you know? But I'm just like, I knew it was going to come out like that. And so I just decided to basically,
it's fine.
Bethany Gallant is someone like, fuck, maybe I have to resurrect her. But that was when I was younger, and I literally like, what I appreciate about the younger self was that I was so just blindly motivated and driven that I would take on any and every responsibility, which I still do now, but like I do it in a different way. Because the thing was, then I had shit music, no brand, no concept, no experience, nothing. But I would blindly put myself forward for any opportunity, like ever, like even if I knew I was wildly underqualified for it, which is admirable in a lot of ways. I mean, we've talked about like that can be like, that is a way to do things now. You have to fake it in some respect. But Bethany Gallant, I booked an entire European tour under that pseudonym. Right? I would do every negotiation, email thing. I started to have phone calls with PR people that I was working with, all under this alias. And what really ruined it is when the iPhone started to do like the maybe Alex Saad calling. Mm-hmm. That's when the whole jig was up, because then I would call people and they'd be like, maybe Alex Saad. They're like, is this Bethany Gallant? And I'd be like, yes. And they'd be like, it says Alex Saw. And I'm like, no, it's me. And the reason that name even came to be, I was recovering from a knee surgery. I was calling these places in Europe because me and two of my friends were going to do a self-run European tour thing. And because I was sort of grounded with this knee surgery, I took on most of the responsibility of a lot of like the booking and the planning the legs of the tour and everything, which I had never done before, ever. And I would call these venues, and at one point I called the venue and they were like, yeah, you can talk to the booking person, like, who's speaking? And I literally was sitting in my family home in this like room that had a bunch of pictures of me and my sisters. My sister's name is Bethany. And I literally like looked over and I was like, Bethany? And then I looked at a book and it said like Galland, and I was like, Galland. It was like that Mrs. Doubtfire scene.
Yeah, that's like a film worthy.
And that was
wow.
just like legit what I did. I just did that, and then that was my alias. I made her an email. I didn't go as far to make her like an Instagram or anything. That would have been a little over the top. But
yeah, that would have been a lot of work.
yeah. But she did a lot of work for me. And what I am, especially now that I'm independent and sort of, it's funny, in like this cyclical era, now I feel great about my, skill set and my music and all this stuff. And sometimes but I have, gotten somewhat used to, and not dependent on, but I've gotten used to having people around that I can even try to pretend to count on to do things. And now, as I've stripped a lot of those sort of security blankets away, I have to get a little bit back to my Bethany Galland motivation, which is a little harder, 7 years later.
It's a confidence thing too. You're like, I'm just gonna call this I've done it. One time I wanted to interview Nicolas Cage, so I just called the company, the movie company, and I just lied until I got up to then I eventually got a different interview, but it was just like, oh yeah, I'm totally confident. I've run this huge site for such a long time, and it just works.
Yeah.
It's just fake it till you make it, really.
It really is.
So this has been a great conversation. Where can people find your music and find you?
So if you look up I'm Sad Alex on anything, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, anything else, it's there. That's for social media stuff. And if you look up Sad Alex on any DSP, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, YouTube, Deezer, whatever these DSPs that people supposedly use, you can use those. Also, Deezer is a thing. You can find me there. I have tons of music. I know many people comment now and say, wow, do you only have one song, you loser? And I'm like, no, I actually have probably 40 songs out that you can listen to if you would like to, and hundreds more ready to go. So, and there's a lot of music on the way. Rugburn just came out this week, and I'm really stoked on her. So listen to that for your awkward, sexy anthem, and then many more tunes to follow very soon.
Did you mention that you're trying to plan a tour in the near future too?
I am. I've been trying to jump on tour with another artist, friend, or whoever, and none of those opportunities have quite stuck to the wall yet. Again, this is all really me and my creative director kind of throwing this all together. But
and Bethany,
exactly. I think another option that I might do, I don't know if it's going to be before that year's out or not, but doing some sort of like LA show, New York show, Chicago show kind of thing, like a makeshift tour. But I don't have that all like locked in quite yet. But I will definitely share that information when I do.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
You can find us at gatecrashers.fan and GateCrashersPod on all social media.
Great. Amazing. I'm excited.
Talk to you.
Yeah, we can order in while you eat me out. Pretty, pretty sugarfish, kiss it on your ugly little couch. I don't care, baby. I'm no interior designer. We'll have some feng shui when you hit it from behind. Like, whoa, I like that spot that you hit. Like, whoa, you're the captain of the clit. Sail away with me. I'm on my hands and my knees on your carpet. When I'm with you, I'm just down for anything. I just wanna kiss you till my lips turn blue. Roll around and sleep the afternoon. We can get a little rougher. Give me rugburn. 'Cause I like it when your love hurts too. I just wanna kiss you till the sun's the swear I talk to God like, hi, it's me. Getting my shit rocked on your big rock like, whoa. B.I.B. I gotta deal with this big cock. I don't go so hard, might get a little boo-boo when I leave you boo-hoo, but you know I'll miss you too. It's like you got a hickey on my heart, so I feel you right here even when we're apart. Yeah. I just wanna kiss you till my lips turn